Finding random frames in the Grand Budapest Hotel until it is ugly. I'm gonna be at this for a long time. Okay, I had to put it in DaVinci because Amazon Prime's player is garbage. Here we go, random shot. The first thing I noticed about the shot is the aspect ratio this was shot in, and for you guys who don't know, the aspect ratio is just the size or the shape of the frame. In this case, the size is 1.37 to 1. It's basically a square. It's not a widescreen rectangle like most films are shot in today. Directors will use this for a lot of different reasons, but one of the things you will see a lot if a director does use this aspect ratio is that the character will be in the center of the frame just because it is nice and proportional that way. Gorgeous shot. Okay, let's go more towards the end this time. Here we go. I believe this shot happens in the lobby of the hotel, and if that is correct, then I remember an American Cinematographer magazine article talking about how they actually lit this, and the first thing you'll notice is that there are a lot of tungsten practical lights right here littered all over the place, and these are basically on dimmer switches that they can raise or lower the brightness of depending on what they want at the time. But the thing to remember is that these lights aren't really lighting at all. Most of the light you see in the scene, in the cracks and the crevices on the floor, on her face, most of that light is coming from the ceiling. And what they would do is, depending on the day and the time of day, they would either do one of several things. They would either have 24 12 light maxi brutes shining through a layer of diffusion, or they would have 20 4K HMIs bouncing off of some muslin, some cloth material, and coming through a hole in the ceiling. They also deployed big balloon lights above the frame for some of the scenes that looked like this. So needless to say, a lot goes into lighting a large area like this if you want it to be lit evenly, and unfortunately, most of us cannot do that on independent budgets. Gorgeous shot, not ugly, as expected. Here we go, next shot. Middle, and here. This framing is actually pretty interesting for a movie shot in this aspect ratio. Remember when I said when movies are shot in aspect ratios like this, you usually have the subject centered in the center of the frame? Well, these two are in the center of the frame, but this one is over to the left side of the frame, so that makes the entire composition feel a little unbalanced. It feels like it's heavily weighted towards the left side of the frame, and there's a lot of negative space over on the right side of the frame here, which is interesting. It's almost like they want us looking into this door, but either way, I think this is a pretty unsettling type of framing, especially for a Wes Anderson film where he usually is very focused on symmetry and not making things unbalanced. So maybe that tells you something about the themes of the movie. Not ugly, next shot. Let's go back towards the beginning. And 1, 2, 3, here. So the main thing I notice about this shot is actually the fact that this is not the same framing that we saw earlier. This is a different aspect ratio. This aspect ratio is 2.40 to 1, and as far as I know, the reason they did this is because this movie takes place in 3 different time periods, and for each time period, they filmed in a different aspect ratio. And I think this is primarily just to give the audience a clear distinction between one time period and the other. It just makes it more easy to follow. Okay, not ugly, let's do another one. 1, 2, 3, let's go to the beginning again. So obviously this is one of the images that sets Wes Anderson apart from most filmmakers these days, and that is that he uses a lot of miniatures. I don't know exactly what they did for this shot, but it looks like they used a lot of green screen and then composited the image in post, and also used a variety of outdoor natural lights and studio lights. Not ugly, here we go again. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. This image's color is in direct contrast to the rest of the movie, where Ray Fiennes' character is happy and secure. He's in prison now, and so the color is changing to reflect that. It's a lot more blue, a lot more cold. Another thing I think is really cool about this image is just all of the lines. You have all of these lines and grid patterns in the window right here. You have the lines on his shirt, and you have the lines and grid patterns in the prison behind him. It's a gorgeous shot. Not ugly, this is gonna take a long time. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Gorgeous shot, soft lighting all around his face, nice mustache. Not ugly, here we go, and here. Again, not an ugly shot, and here. Again, we have the 2 main recurring themes here. We have symmetry and we have color harmony. That is Wes Anderson's bread and butter. Not ugly, let's do another one. We're gonna keep going until we get an ugly shot. This is a gorgeous example of a frame within a frame. First of all, you have the frame of the actual image, which is a square, and then you have another frame inside of the image, which is another square, and inside that frame you have the characters. This is just a great way to draw your viewers' attention to something on screen, because I'm not looking over here, I'm looking here. Not ugly, let's go back towards the beginning, and here. This image is gorgeous. The colors are popping off like crazy and the skin tones are beautiful as well. It's being primarily lit from above. I would have guessed by a China ball, but as you can see, there's a little bit of a fluorescent looking reflection right here. So maybe some kind of Kino flow or something like that. I'm not sure. Super gorgeous shot, definitely not ugly. This is gonna take a long time. Here we go, back towards the middle and here. This is a nice shot. There's soft light on their face and there is a practical light behind them giving motivation for this edge light you can see on their hats. That light might not actually be casting this light on their hats, but if, in the very least, it is giving motivation for another light to be placed off frame, maybe up here, and then shining down on them to give them this edge light. And that's one thing cinematographers do very well, is that they use practical lights in the frame as motivation for lights off screen to just give a little bit of pop. Not ugly, here we go again. I'm not gonna be like those people who say they're gonna go until it's ugly and then they just quit halfway through. I'm gonna find an ugly frame in this movie if it kills me. Let's go back towards the beginning. Here. Yeah, cool shot. We got a little bit of motion blur here, which doesn't look great in a still image, but I'll give it a pass. Not ugly, but I think we're getting a bit closer. Let's go right here. Still not ugly, let's go to another one. Here. This image is primarily being lit from a light down this direction. It's casting a shadow right here. It's primarily probably just that one light. There's also some practical lights right here casting reflections and stuff. But again, the costumes, the set design are amazing, and I love this shot. Y'all are really killing me with this one. I'm gonna find one though. I know there's one here somewhere. And here. Cool shot, outside, pretty symmetrical, minimal lighting, gorgeous. Come on, middle of a whip pan, middle of a whip pan, middle of a whip pan. This seems like a pretty simple shot. It's a grid pattern of things on a table. It looks like this. It's very symmetrical like Wes Anderson loves to do. The only other thing I see that is interesting is if I zoom into the hand right here. You're not gonna be able to tell because it's low quality, but there's a bit of halation on his fingers, and that's due to being shot on film most likely. And that just means that the highlights of his fingers are bleeding over into the rest of the image. Not ugly. Here we go, and there. This might be my favorite shot so far. This is a gorgeous image, primarily elevated by the set design and the color choices in the clothing and the color harmony between the skin tones and the wall, but also this light over here on the right side is incredibly soft and flattering for this woman, and she has great highlights as well. One thing I do want to do with this image is bring it into DaVinci and show you how much color correction is being done to this. So if I just white balance to this door back here, which is supposed to be white, so this isn't going to be perfect, but you'll see this is a much more natural looking image where the whites are white and the blacks are black. This is what it looked like in the actual movie, and it's very pink. So you know they're just adding a lot of pink to the entire image, which is an interesting choice, I must say, because I kind of like this look better than having all the pink in it, but you know, that's my preference. Okay, not ugly, let's go again. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, here. Love this shot. Besides the overall ambience that you can see everywhere that's primarily being lit by the skylight above them, it is also being lit, I think, by a China ball that is positioned behind them so that it's giving this nice edge light. And then it is also being lit, it's being filled in on this side by a tungsten unit. I think I have pictures of that from the American Cinematographer magazine though. Okay, not ugly, let's go again. 1, 2, 3, here. We've found it! It's just a black screen! If I wanted to look at that, I'd close my eyes.